Hi, I'm Tom R. I'm pastor at Village Church, and I'm glad you're here. I welcome you to Village Connect. It is a Bible study and conversation with others to seek God's presence and power in our lives and in the world. So the passage that we're going to be considering in this session can be found in Mark chapter 9. Begin with verse 30 and read all the way through verse 50. It's an interesting section of Mark's gospel. Look, read that together with your group and identify questions and comments you may have. When you've finished, come back and we'll start the conversation. So as you read, for the second time in Mark's gospel, Jesus tells his followers he's going to be betrayed, he's going to be handed over, he'll be crucified, he'll be raised on the third day. They don't get it, but he keeps telling them. He knows this is happening because the way Jesus loves, he loves not just those who love him, but he loves the least and the lost, the broken and the bruised. He loves the oppressed and the oppressor. He loves in a radical enough fashion that it doesn't fit easily in this world, and so he can anticipate there'll be hostility, there'll be rejection, he'll be crucified. But they don't get it. I get some comfort in that. It's nice to know you don't have to get it all the time to still be on the journey, but they really don't get it, because what they argue about is who is the greatest. As a kid, I had some plans for greatness. I did. I'm standing here on an unkept elementary school baseball diamond. It's not even a diamond, it's just a grass field. That's about as great as I got. But even on those diamonds, I could imagine the crowds, the stadium filled, and I could imagine being out there at second base or being here at the plate. I had ideas of greatness. But thank goodness my thoughts about what makes us great has changed. They argue with each other. Who is the greatest disciple? It's such a ridiculous argument. They didn't get it, but Jesus kept teaching them. And here's how he taught them. Come, let me show you. They were arguing about who is the greatest, and he talked to them about children. I love these old playgrounds. It sounds fun to us, this conversation about children. We celebrate our children, but in Jesus' day, it was a different culture. It was a different time. It wasn't that parents didn't love their children, not that at all. But children didn't have status. They weren't important as the same way adults were. Part of it is they couldn't produce. Part of it is their life was fragile, but they lacked status. And for Jesus to include a child in the kingdom, well, that can only happen by grace. In other words, the child is included because the love that's in Jesus, not because of anything that's in the child. If I get it, what he's telling his disciples is you're included in God's kingdom the same way. It's not because of your accomplishment or your faithfulness or even your belief. It's because of the love that lives in God's heart that claims you and will not let you go. It's grace. Well, the disciples still didn't get it. They began to point to another who was working miracles, but they said, he's not part of our team. He doesn't have the status of our team. He's a JV guy. We're the varsity. Jesus said, no, it's grace, guys. That's what matters in life. God's relationship to you is always grace. And until we start seeing that grace extended to others, even those of no status, this gospel is always going to be a little ahead of us. We're going to be struggling to catch up. It's grace for you and grace for all. Now we come to the strangest part of our biblical passage, where where Jesus says, if your hand causes you to sin, cut it off. If your eye causes you to sin, pluck it out. What is he talking about? My dad used to have an expression, I'd give an arm and a leg to do this, or I'd give an arm and a leg to be part of that. I think Jesus is talking the same way. I'm pretty convinced when Mark's congregation was reading this, they laughed out loud. If I get it, what Jesus is saying is, you'd give anything to be part of this kingdom. You'd give an arm and a leg to be part of this kingdom. You know what? Let me just show you what I'm talking about. Everybody here knows what Jesus is talking about. There are people who come here every day to this food pantry. They volunteer their time, their energy, their hope, their care. It's hard work, and it takes a lot of time, and not a one of them will be anywhere else. Because when we are engaged in being human with one another, you give an arm and a leg to be part of that kind of life. That's what Jesus said. The last thing he said is he talked about salt, being salt. Here's the thing about salt. It's great for salt. It's not good for anything else. You can't use it for sugar. You can't use it for basil. You can't use it for anything else. It's salt. And you use it for anything that salt is good for. I think what he's saying is, what you are for is the life that he's showing you. You'd give an arm and a leg to live like that. That's what you're for. Anything else is worthless.